If you had told me a few months ago that my first ever at-home 240Hz experience would be on what is essentially a laptop monitor, I probably would have laughed at you. But here we are today. Today we're looking at this. This is a laptop... That keeps happening. This is a laptop screen on a tripod. The ASUS... I have to get the exact model number here. ASUS ROG Strix XG17AHP, which is a portable USB Type-C gaming monitor. It's a 17.3-inch display. It's IPS. It is 1080p up to 240 Hz, or 144 Hz is available as well, and 120 Hz. It has USB-C for DisplayPort connectivity, micro-HDMI. It has FreeSync. It's got a battery, and it's 240 Hz. This is my first time playing 240 Hz at home, and it's glorious. It takes a lot to actually play most games at it, and in fact, there's a reason why in my RTX 3080 review I focused on the difference of 1080p 240 versus normal, or on the RTX 2080 versus the 3080, because that was my struggle when trying to game for this. And recording 240 Hz is pretty difficult, but this monitor is a weird choice. Do you feel restricted in your streaming setup? Do you wish that big mic could come with you, or just be smaller, less big, Or do you just want something less in your face? Well, we'll throw the Mod Mic Wireless into your setup and experience streaming freedom like never before. Use it while you're walking, use it while you're talking, use it while in the world of VR, use it while you're on the toilet during your BRB scene, use it while building a PC. You're not tethered anymore. The Mod Mic Wireless, streaming freedom. I'm EposVox, your stream professor, and we're doing a monitor review today, in case you were unaware. When you first unbox or open up this ASUS ROG Strix XG17AHP, I'm just going to say it as many times as possible to point out how ridiculous that model number is. I need a better name for it. When you first unbox it, you get like a nice padded bag, you get all this stuff that makes it look like you're getting a laptop. It really looks like you're opening a laptop, and that was really exciting. Like the idea of getting a 240 Hz, like beefy, powerful gaming laptop. It's been a long time since I've had a gaming laptop. Was exciting. And then the disappointment kind of sets in when you realize that you're not actually opening a laptop. You're opening a monitor that used to be attached to a laptop. Now, overall, this monitor is pretty good. I already went over the specs. It also has a 7800 milliamp hour battery, which does last quite a long time. But it does need power because it is a monitor. So despite the size, you've actually got two USB-C ports here, because I was unable to power it off of this single USB-C cable on anything I connected it to. I don't know if it's supposed to be able to do that, but a lot of the USB-C displays, like these days, you have this whole thing where you plug everything through the USB-C cable if it's running off, if it's something more portable like this, and if it's something beefier, then instead the USB-C cable powers like your laptop or whatever. But in this case, powering it off the USB-C port on my RTX 2080 or Titan or a laptop, I could not get it to actually power this laptop enough to charge it. And plugging it into a computer's USB-C port or USB port for power was not enough to keep the battery alive, so it did end up dying on me during use because it wasn't really charging the battery faster than I was using it. So you do need to use the wall wart they include for it, or a similarly powered one, to really get the power that it needs to keep the battery going while you're gaming for long sessions. Image quality wise, it is an IPS display. Viewing angles are pretty solid. I was impressed with it for what it is, a small little laptop-y style display. Nothing significant to note on it, but it's pretty nice. In terms of like responsiveness and feel, I enjoy it quite a lot. Like 240 Hz is pretty cool. I didn't think it was worth it overall. I spent a long time saying, okay, 1440p is that nice sweet spot between 4K and 1080. You get a boost in resolution, but you can also enjoy high refresh rate. And frankly, once I was doing my RTX 3080 coverage, going back to 1440p 144 Hz for the first time in a while, because I'd been on ultra wide 100 Hz, that was a glorious experience. But in certain games, when I can actually drive it, the 240 Hz in that monitor is glorious. And I was actually able to record some footage for you here and slow it down just so you can see exactly how different it is compared to 60 Hz footage when you're slowing it down from 240 Hz down to 60 FPS, just to see like crazy slow-mo shots.
Hey, you!
That being said, at least on my RTX 2080, I struggled to run a lot of games, at least at the higher settings I want to run at 240 FPS, even, you know, at the lower 1080p resolution. Apex Legends did not maintain a lock 60 or 240 FPS. A lot of the beefier games I really struggled to, but older style games, or, you know, lower demand games like Halo Master Chief Collection, no problem. Modern Warfare 2, the IW4X mod where you can unlock the frame rate, that was silky smooth, phenomenal. Tony Hawk's Pro Skater Remaster running at 240 FPS was pretty brilliant. So there's a lot you could do with it, and of course, if you're an esports first gamer where you know, have already fairly optimized games, you're running them at low settings, getting that 240 hertz is pretty cool. But as a product, I'm a little confused who this is for exactly. Additional features, it of course comes with the tripod. You have no actual VESA mounting, so unless you're just gonna, it does have an iPod style folio flap if you want to try to sit it up with that. I didn't have a ton of luck with that, but in most cases you're probably fine. Otherwise you get this tripod. However, the tripod is very difficult to fully lock into place here, and so more often than not it will randomly like drop like it did at the start of this video. And that can be a little annoying, and you actually screw the mounting plate into the back of the monitor, so if you don't have it totally like level the first time, you have no control to level the monitor, which has driven me nuts because I haven't felt like re-screwing it. But it does pack up into a tiny little portable bag that you can then take with you to events, which in 2020 no one's really going to. But I'm looking at this, especially for the price, because I'm thinking about it, and like, yeah, myself in high school would have had a blast taking this with whatever computer that could have run it. 240 hertz was a pipe dream back when I was in high school. It wasn't even on anyone's radar, but you know, if I had the power to do it and had the monitor, taking that to LAN parties or to D&D groups where we'd play games after and things like that, you know, portable travel with a laptop would have been awesome. But I also wouldn't have had $500 for a monitor for that purpose. Even now, I'm not sure like I could justify. You can get a desktop one cheaper than that. So when I was looking at options for doing future 240 hertz streaming coverage, which you should get subscribed, as we'll have more coming soon thanks to this monitor, I'm just kind of looking at it and confused, because even if you have a laptop that can game at 240 hertz, are you the workflow would have to be that you take the laptop, you set it on a dock or over off to the side, you run a separate mouse and keyboard, which maybe people are doing with their laptops anyway, and then you set the monitor up and you're gaming on that, because otherwise if it's to the side of your laptop, you're gonna have some really awkward like sideways strain as you're gaming not where your laptop is angled, and that's probably not going to be a good time. Like, I can't imagine that's a lot of fun. I could see for dorm situations though, if your laptop was your main computer, you took it with you, say to class or whatnot, but you wanted your main gaming station with your mouse, keyboard, and monitor that's easy to hide or, you know, move with you or whatever setup, might be pretty cool. But I don't know. Overall, I'm really confused at who the market for this is. And they have a completely different one. I thought this was the same one. They have a completely different monitor that's basically the exact same thing, but only like 144 hertz and designed to connect to their ROG Phone 3. I would imagine it would have made sense to combine these SKUs into the same SKU, and maybe it is the same SKU, just slightly limited to make it cheaper or something. But that would make sense, I suppose, for Asian markets. They show an example image here. They have it connected to a game console, which I guess it's 1080p monitor, whatever. They show it connected to a phone, so perhaps their ROG Phone 3 can actually run it at under 44 hertz, and that's fine, but that's not the one they were marketing with it. But then they also show it just stood up above your laptop, which you have to have. This only sits like 8 inches off the ground. Like, it does not sit off the ground enough for any laptop that I personally own to fit comfortably underneath of this. And the image they show, that tripod has to be sitting on top of something else for that angle to work. So I'm not, like I said, I'm not really sure. As a monitor, it's great. It's actually got some really cool features in the menus if you dive in. It's got crosshair support, so you could overlay your own crosshairs. I don't know how useful that is. Back in 2014, I reviewed a product that did that, and I thought it was kind of gimmicky at the time, although it was kind of helpful for games at the time. But with the way recoil and stuff works in esports games these days, I don't really know how much a crosshair overlay really helps you. But for the variable refresh rate stuff, it has some cool stuff. So this monitor is FreeSync, but that makes it GSync compatible with the new GSync stuff that NVIDIA is doing. And so over DisplayPort, over the USB-C, you are able to run it as GSync and set it up. And so in the menus, they actually have a frame or a refresh rate / refresh rate graph indicator on screen, so you can see how the performance is fluctuating, how it's doing over time, and things like that. Theoretically, that should work over HDMI with normal FreeSync, but I don't have AMD card setup or anything like that. And the G-Sync experience on it was actually pretty phenomenal. This is the first not directly G-Sync, just G-Sync compatible monitor that I have used where the experience has been plug and play and really like straightforward. Like all the other monitors I was testing when that feature originally released a year or two ago when I was covering it, most of the monitors I was testing with it just had many different weird issues and it just didn't work properly. G-Sync working on this is buttery smooth. It's my first at-home like true G-Sync experience and it is great. There's no tearing, it feels just as responsive, and with the new reflex stuff coming from NVIDIA, it's probably great as well. There's a video on Battle Nonsense explaining that if you want to check that out, linked below. It's a pretty cool monitor. I just kind of wish now that I had one that was full-sized and proper. I don't know. I'd say the actual screen size, 17.3 inches, is probably the right way to go if you want a 1080p experience, because bumping it up to 24 and 27, 1080p starts to get a little, you can tell you're running a lower resolution, whereas 1440p at that resolution or that size is fine. So I don't know, for the bigger monitors I prefer to game on, that I would be comfortable dropping down to 1080p to play and stream 240 hertz. But for a smaller monitor size like this, even though it looks goofy as can be sitting in front of my 32-inch ultra wide, for a portable experience, or if I'm looking to game on the go or set up a little secondary portable corner gaming station or something, this would probably be what I was going for if I had the right context needed. Now, I wanted to briefly talk about actually recording 240 hertz. We can do a whole separate video on this. It's fairly straightforward to set up in OBS. I'd highly recommend using the NVIDIA NVENC encoder versus X264 if you have an NVIDIA graphics card. You just go to your video settings, and under frame rate you change it from the common FPS values to fractional FPS values and set it to 240/1, and then add your game source, and you're good to go for the most part. However, as I discovered in my RTX 3080 review as well, there are a lot of games that for whatever reason I just get encoder overloaded. I'm not getting render lag. I don't think my GPU is maxed out, but something about sending, I guess, a 240 frame rate signal through the NVENC for the video textures and stuff, the encoder is checking out. Now, some games I had no problem. Like I said, I already listed a few: Halo, Tony Hawk, Modern Warfare 2. I had quite a few games here that I've recorded at 240 hertz, but there's some that just wouldn't do it. And so you're still fine to capture 60, and that won't be any other problem other than overall GPU performance from like a normal streaming layout perspective. But I'm currently working in like my webs of contact through NVIDIA to see if we can figure out why this is happening, because I don't think it's happening because it needs to. Like, I think it's a bug or an issue, a hiccup somewhere is getting stuck versus an actual performance limitation, and I'd like to find out why. Of course, there are capture cards that support capturing 240 hertz, namely being the AverMedia Live Gamer 4K and the Elgato 4K 60 Pro Mark II. There is also a Magewell card that'll do it, the PCIe loop through one. It's way more expensive. You probably don't want it. And then of course there's cards that will pass it through, such as the Live Gamer Ultra. It will pass through 1080p 240, but it will not capture 240 FPS. It's kind of limited there. And then the AverMedia Live Gamer Duo will also pass through 1080p 40 or 240 and just capture 1080p 60. But you'll get a lot more tearing with a card that doesn't support trying to at least pull in more than 60 FPS and all of that. So I generally don't recommend that card for high refresh rate gaming. So this is the ASUS XG17AHP. It's a portable 240 hertz display, and if that is the product you're looking for, this is serving whatever market is for that pretty well. I'm just left confused what that market is. However, 240 hertz gaming is a wonderful experience. I hope everyone gets to experience it at some point because it's great, but I don't know that this is the right form factor for everyone, I guess. Hit the like button if you enjoyed, subscribe for more tech education. Product links to this will be in the description below. As always, thank you to ASUS for sending this out for review. We'll have more 240 hertz related streaming topics coming soon thanks to this monitor. I'll see you in the next video.